Welcome, everyone. I'm Madeline Di Nonno, President and CEO of the Institute. I'd like to introduce our wonderful ASL interpreter, Darcy French-Myerson. Please pin your screen if you would like to see Darcy throughout the event. Also, closed captioning is available at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Before we begin, we want to acknowledge that although virtual today in Los Angeles, we reside on the lands that are the home and traditional lands belonging to the Tongva Nation. Today, we come with respect and gratitude for the Tongva people who remain stewards and caretakers of this land. We are honored to be partnered with Take 9 Seconds, Take Control, and today we will be sharing the best tips and insights on how to keep yourself, your friends, your family, and coworkers safer online, and how to reduce the risk of cyber scams and fraud. Why is this important to GDI? To quote Craig Newmark, who has generously funded this initiative through his Craig Newmark Philanthropies, cyber attacks are already here. Don't wait for an attack to realize your defenses are down. We need everyone to play their role in defending against cyber attacks. Now, GDI knows that media and entertainment can also misrepresent how cyber attacks are represented. This is a very important topic for GDI, as for over 2 decades, we have been using data to break barriers, challenge norms, and dramatically increase representation on screen and in real life. With ever increasing cyber risks, this creates additional barriers, obstacles for women, girls, and other marginalized communities to engage in full participation, leadership, and opportunity. Today, you will be hearing from our beloved partner, Amira Dhalla, Director of Cyber Civil Defense at Aspen Digital, and Talia Stringfellow, Senior Associate for Take 9 at Aspen Digital. Now, without further ado, I'm pleased to turn it over to Amira, who is going to walk us through what we're going to do today. So take it away.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And it's so great to be here with everyone. We appreciate the work you do, and we want to make sure that we are empowering you to stay safe online and keeping your community safe. And so we're going to do that today by going over what are the issues we're talking about, talking more about the campaign that we work on called Take 9, giving you really tangible tips on how to protect yourself and your communities online. And we're going to involve some fun in here by having a Catch the Fish game show for you all. And then we'll just talk quickly about what's next, and we'll end with a Q&A. I also want to call out that if you have any questions or comments in here, we'd love to hear and see them. So feel free to use the chat along the way. And if you have comments, please add them there. And if you have questions, please use the Q&A function. My colleague Talia and I will be in there constantly answering questions and picking some out for our live Q&A at the end. So please do add to that throughout the time as you get them. All right, so I'm going to kick us off on what is the issue. So at Take 9, we really focus everything corely on research that drives how we are evaluating the situation about scams, frauds, and cyber attacks online, but also what it means for consumers and how we're going to change their behaviors and impact their lives. So I'll start with the next slide that really shows just what we're talking about here on the issue, which is 46% of people have encountered a cyber attack or digital scam online. Depending on who you're polling, that number can go as high as 75%. And 19% of them have lost money. We know that this is an issue that impacts every American household. And not only that, we know that it is something Americans deeply care about. And it is impacting some more than others. So here we're showing you that white Americans are losing 15% money compared to Black Americans who are losing 37% of money to digital scams and attacks. We're also seeing trends like Gen Z is being hit with more cyber attacks and clicking on them at a faster rate than anyone else, but baby boomers are the ones who are losing the most amount of money overall compared to anyone. And on top of that, we're seeing certain communities that we care about often targeted. For example, communities that are immigrant or not English speaking first languages are often targeted with information that preys upon language skills. Or we're seeing communities like vet communities who are targeted because they are moving around quickly and receive lots of notifications and emails and information. So we know this is impacting everyone, but we know it's impacting certain communities in particular. On the next slide, we're going to look at where are people being targeted. So the truth is the people are being targeted in the places that they're connecting with those they care about. So iMessage, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger. These are the places that have been shooting up in consistency over, as you can see in this graph, since the last year, but over time. It is surfacing in places where you least expect it, where you were already communicating with people regularly. And this is how scammers are able to really get into a place where you're not expecting them. But we also have seen significantly over time that it is consistently sent through email, which has been consistent. And then we're also seeing it in places where you're also communicating with your loved ones through social media, phone calls, potential new loved ones like a dating app or website, and in other spaces. And on the next slide, we're just going to quickly look through what are the methods that people are using. So most people are actually coming at you with phishing attacks. And so 80% of cyber attacks right now in the US are caused by a phishing attack, which is a human error led in clicking. And so that means that individuals are clicking on links that they shouldn't be clicking on. These links are malicious. These links are really impacting the ability for individuals to be able to go about their lives and do the things they want to do because it's really coming at them in all different forms. Also, we know that people are coming at individuals pretending to be other people that they aren't. So whether they're pretending to be a bank or a credit card company, the people you trust in your workforce, like tech support, or even impersonating someone you know. With the rise of generative AI, we are seeing it become easier for scammers and attackers to impersonate someone you might love or care about through copying their phone number or copying their voice and likeness in other sorts of ways. And it's getting harder and harder to tell what are the scams coming through. And just here on the last slide that we have, we talked to individuals about where they felt they could stand up. And we learned that empowering them with the skills that they need to know is really important because they really believe that they can take the steps that they need to stay safe online. So they know that scams are a big issue. They care a lot about them. And there's an appetite for individuals to be able to do something about it. And so we really have been looking at this through our research and been like, okay, this is the sweet spot where Take 9 can actually come in and do something. And with that, I'll actually pass it to my colleague Talia, who will talk more about the campaign and what that means.
Hi, everyone. So first thing, next slide, please, is that Take 9 is a national cybersecurity, consumer protections, public awareness campaign dedicated to empowering folks to protect themselves against online scams and frauds. Take 9 is created and funded by Craig Newmark Philanthropies. Yep, that guy from Craigslist, and supported by Aspen Digital and our public relation firms, Bully Pulpit International. Our work makes a national impact in part thanks to the wonderful partnerships like the one that we have with the Geena Davis Institute. So why Take 9? In a world where everything online happens quickly, scammers pry on urgency, and with AI-enhanced scams on the rise, like Amira just mentioned, everyday people need to be equipped with the tools to protect themselves online. Successful phishing attacks are the root of the lion's share of cyber attacks on organizations. But beyond organizations, the human impact is real, with disproportionate effects on underserved communities. For instance, a recent study found that Black and Hispanic Americans are twice as likely to lose money due to a scam or fraud. So what can we do about it? Taking 9 seconds to pause and think before you click and download or share online can have a huge impact. But why 9? So we all know it takes 10 seconds in a stressful or intense situation to give oneself clarity, take a beat, and really reflect. The framing of 9 seconds is a clever marketing strategy as old as time. Just like 99 cents feels less expensive than $1, 9 seconds just feels more feasible. We'll dive into what to actually do with those 9 seconds later. Before I pass it back to Amira, I just want to make a shameless plug because we have something really, really big coming. Not only will we be launching a new and improved website, which will be a source for consumers and partners alike, but we will also be scaling a advertising campaign across the country starting in the spring. So if you see us pop up in your community, specifically shouting out my Chicago, Miami, and Atlanta folks, please don't be shy to send us a picture or post it online with the hashtag Take9. All right, back to you, Amira.
Thanks, Talia. Okay, we are going to jump into the tips to protect yourself. I think this is the meat of the presentation for many people who are excited to know what they can do, what they can share with others. So I'm going to get in by just outlining 4 ways we can be more secure online. And then they are using a unique and strong passwords, setting up multi-factor authentication, enabling automatic updates, and updating settings on the device. There's 4 of them only, and they range in the time it takes to complete them, the effort it takes to complete them, and how much that they have impact. But I promise you they are all really important, and I'm going to go through them one by one so we really understand what they mean. So on the next slide, we're going to look at strong and unique passwords. Now, I've been in cybersecurity for a while, really talking about privacy and security with a lot of folks. And as I've been doing that, everyone is always like, yes, I know that strong and unique passwords matter. But then when I talk to them about, well, do you actually create them? It's not actually as common. A lot of people know you have to create strong and unique passwords, but not everyone is actually doing them. And so I'm going to give you my plug on why that actually matters. So strong passwords are just harder to hack. Right now, if you use a 1-word password, a hacker can hack that in literally seconds. The technology, which I've seen, is quite impressive. But if you use something that is multi-phrase, multi-character, capital letters, non-capital letters, you are able to actually do something where you're creating a very strong password that is much harder to crack and much harder to imitate by anyone else. The more important part that I'd love to highlight here is using a unique password. Data breaches and attacks are actually quite common in our world right now. It's fair to say that a lot of your data is already out there actually. And what happens is hackers use this information to be able to take it from one platform that is hacked and shared online and try to use it in your other platforms. Now, they do this one because it's an indicator of maybe you haven't changed your password, but because they know humans do this all the time. This is actually human behavior, is we reuse the same password. It is easy to remember. I totally get it. But it means in cybersecurity world, you are facing a deep vulnerability because your information is shared online. Inevitably, you are in spaces that are going to be hacked and your data breach is going to happen and your data is going to be out there. And then individuals are going to try to take that to use to get into somewhere else. But having a unique password means that that is less likely to happen. And if you are a person who is like, oh, this is really hard to remember a strong and unique passwords across all different accounts, that's where a password manager comes in. You do only need to know one password, I promise, and then you have access to all your other passwords. There's a lot of great ones recommended online, but I do recommend using them. And also you can have some that are built into platforms. So I know like Google allows you to use it as a client if you want to as well. Okay, on the next slide, we're going to look at multi-factor authentication. So, as I said, everyone's data is out there. A lot of people's information has already been shared online. I like to tell people to assume that your information, your details are already public. And so what do you do at that point? And that is to use multi-factor authentication. So if you're sleeping on passwords using strong and unique ones, which I get, that's human behavior. We all do it at times. Do not sleep on multi-factor authentication. It gives you an added layer to your accounts so that even when someone has your password and your username or your email address, it means that they still can't get into your account. And then, it makes it harder and it makes sure that it's only you. There are many types of multi-factor authentication. So what most people are used to and feel are most common these days, which are rolled out by banks and other places we trust, are either voice or text message. Those are 2 of the most common ones, and they are secure in some ways, but you could be even more secure by using other forms of multi-factor authentications, including authentication apps. Authentication apps actually make it really easy where all of your authentications are in one place, and you're able to manage them as you go and make sure they are stored stored and easily transferable and only for you in that place. So I do encourage you, if at the bare minimum, you use either a voice or text option. But if you want to up level your security a little more, go the added place, get an authenticator app. I've got it. I've been using it for a decade now. It's really helped my process along the way as well. Okay, next slide. We're going to talk about enabling automatic updates. So as I have mentioned many times now, there's real stuff happening in the world. Sites are compromised, platforms are attacked, breaches have happened. We are seeing this all the time. We are seeing this often after it happens, but a lot happens before as well, where places, platforms, or devices are getting attacked or are being proved that they are vulnerable in other sorts of ways. So companies have huge teams that work on their cybersecurity that really work to ensure that these platforms are being made to be the most secure and are not going to be able to be hacked by outside influencers in any sort of way. And what they do is they have patches, and these patches ensure that over time, people are not able to use vulnerabilities to their advantage or outdated code or something that's been wrong or has been leaked. And then they ship these packages, so they send them to us in updates. Updates, as we probably are used to getting them on our phones or our computers, they're actually keeping us really safe. They're not only giving us the latest technology and the latest updates, but they're actually enclosing a whole bunch of cybersecurity safety things as well, and really just making sure we have the latest programs that are like preventing attacks from happening. So I like to tell people to make sure you are going in to have an update as soon as it happens. But better yet, actually enabling auto updates means you don't even have to think about it. As soon as an update's available, it automatically goes in. So I really recommend doing that and keeping your operating system, whether it's your computer, your cell phone, all of the IoT devices in your home, anything that is like digitally connected, it also counts. So make sure all of those are being updated as constantly as possible. And then the last one here, I have to admit, so updating your settings on the next slide is the most time intensive one. But what I like to tell people is you really get into a habit with this one. So make sure that you are updating the settings on your device regularly, or when you download or log in and create a user account on a platform or an app. And so as soon as you do those things, make sure you go into the settings and you adjust the settings for what is best for you. A lot of times people use the default settings on a device or platform, which isn't the worst, but they're not designed for you. They're designed for the platform, and they're designed for sharing a lot of information you might not necessarily want. So once you go into the user settings, you can actually adjust for sharing your location, things on your devices, how your data might be used. You're trained for things that you might not consent to, and any other sort of things that are coming out there. It sometimes takes a few clicks, and then because updates happen quite often, you want to go back in and check on these things as well every so often. I know this is hard for a lot of people because we're in so many different places, but I tell myself once a year to pick my top 15 apps that I use and check the settings of them all the time. It really helps me get into a habit and make sure I'm secure. Sometimes I really know what a platform is doing, and it just builds better user behavior. Now, the last slide that I've got going on here is really just a level up slide. So you are cybersecurity pros at this point. I know it. I feel it. What I want you to do is now just be like, okay, once I've done those 4 and I've checked off my checklist, here are all the additional things I can do to make sure I'm a cybersecurity professional. So use a password manager, restart your devices, delete old apps and data, reclaim what you've got online. We are constantly downloading things and never deleting them. Encrypt your data, documents, and communication. Make sure they're secure. Back up your devices when necessary. So if they do become attacked in some way, you've got your backups ready. Use passkeys. So you know what? Passwords are kind of out now. Most of us have switched to passkeys. You got to get on board. And then one that I really like to talk about in the age of AI is creating family passwords and code words. So as I mentioned earlier, people are using other people's likeness. So whether it's their voice, their cell phone number, their face, even to con other people into doing things that they wouldn't normally do. And one of the ways I combat that with my family, or I encourage others to do that, is to create a code word that only you all know, so that if something like this happens where you're like, something feels off, saying the code word and seeing if the other people or asking them for the code word and seeing if the other person can recite it. Okay, you are cybersecurity professionals now. I'm going to pass it to Talia to take over on some more tips.
Thanks, Amira. So first of all, let's talk about phishing. Before I dive in, I highly encourage you to screenshot these slides because I know I'm going to run through them pretty quickly, and there's a lot of key details in here you might want to be taking home and sharing with others. First off, we've brought up phishing a few times, but what is it actually? Phishing is a type of cyber attack that is designed to deceive you by using clever social engineering tricks like instilling a sense of urgency or preying on our human desire for a good deal, to revealing sensitive information like your password, social security number, banking details, stealing your money, or instilling malware on your devices. Often, it's done by impersonating a legitimate source with malicious links or attachments included. So, why do we care about phishing? Well, successful phishing attacks are expensive, both for the individual, costing consumers $12.4 billion 2 years ago, and organizations with an average cost of just under $5 million per successful phishing attempt, not to mention the emotional effects of disappointment, shame, and vulnerability that come with being a victim of a scam or fraud. We don't fearmonger here at Take 9, but the truth is AI is making it worse, and this is the moment that we all need to act. By empowering ourselves with the skills and knowledge to identify these online scams and frauds, and by sharing them with your loved ones, carrying this message forward, we can confidently avoid phishing attempts and stop scammers in their tracks. Phishing can come via text, email, WhatsApp group, social media, or just on the web. So let's dive into some of the most common scams that we've been seeing. So I wonder how many of you have received some of these. Please don't be shy about dropping which ones you spotted in the wild while I go through this. The chat feature is welcome to all. Everyone has either seen these, been a victim to them, or know a true story, and sharing them really empowers us to move forward and beyond this. Scammers like to use fake delivery notifications and bank fraud alerts with links that redirect you to malicious websites to steal personal or financial information. They instill this sense of urgency that something is wrong and you need to fix it now. But instead, we recommend you go directly to the website, the delivery service, or the bank, and check for yourself rather than click through that link directly. We've also seen a significant rise in fake job opportunities and unpaid toll texts. These are, again, socially engineered to get you to act now. Unfortunately, we know the reality is employers just aren't out there seeking candidates, and the government doesn't really text us about tolls fees. So if you do suspect that it could be real, just go directly to the source, do some research on that company, and for the tolls, you can check with local officials if you do owe money. Finally, the other two scams that we wanted to highlight on this webinar are the romance and notario scams. These I find particularly villainous because they pry on especially vulnerable people. Romance scams will target lonely people or people seeking connection, converse with the target, form a bond, convince them to send money so that they can come visit or encourage the victim to participate in a lucrative investment, and then they just run with the money. Notario scams are often targeted towards Latino immigrants in the United States, falsely claiming that they're authorized to provide immigration support or immigration fast-tracking in exchange for a fee. They pry on the cultural norm that exists in Latin America that don't exist in the United States and end up filing incorrect documents or disappearing with the money, which can cause severe legal consequences or financial ruin for these victims. As you can see, there's a lot of diversity in the types of scams and frauds there are out there, but they often employ very similar tactics. So the moment that I promised, we're going to dive into some of the key things to look out for when you pause and take 9 seconds. All right, again, there's a lot on this slide, so please feel free to screenshot, but here are some tips on how to spot a scam. First, or how to combat a scam. First, verify the source. Check the email domain carefully for missing or mixed up letters. Use a different communication stream to check that the email is in fact from the source that they claim to be. Text your boss. Did you really ask me to buy $500 worth of gift cards? This one is slightly out of date, but a good reminder to check for spelling mistakes or grammatical mistakes, weird copy-paste jobs with different fonts, or strange currencies as definite red flags. Always be suspicious of urgent language. Ask yourself, why the rush? Take those 9 seconds to ask yourself, how often does something actually that urgent, especially from people that you don't know? Be suspicious of people asking for any personal or financial information. Why do they need to know my birthday, my mother's maiden name, or login password to fill out this fun survey or BuzzFeed article? Wannabe BuzzFeed article. Be wary of attachments and links, link shorteners, and even attachments that can be used to mask malicious links or malware. It's better to always go straight to the source's website or app and verify there rather than clicking through a link that's sent to you via message. Also, be suspicious of weird domain names. Sometimes a recent scam ploy, especially with scammers leveraging AI, can create almost identical websites to the one that we trust. So if you see something like .co, .shop, .ru, definitely check again before you click. Scammers also like to use generic greetings like "Dear user, sincerely, Bank of America." Often when someone's really trying to reach out to you, they're going to shake it up a little bit, not use these copy paste generic greetings. Be wary of free things or too good to be true deals online. Sadly, in this world, we can't trust free things online. Often they carry malware or steal personal information. And if you really feel like it could be real, take a moment to research reviews, though admittedly that definitely will take more than 9 seconds. Finally, I'd like to say, ask the critical questions. Why would I have to confirm that money is being sent to me? Normally, it just goes straight into my account. Or why would a toll cost $500? That seems excessive. Sometimes a scam can be identified by the fact that it's just unfeasible. All right. I know we just went through a lot, and here's our chance to practice what we've learned, and I hope that you walk away feeling equipped to tackle any phish that swims your way. So welcome to the first online iteration of the Take 9 game show, Catch the Phish. This is going to be a group effort, so everybody please lock in, open that chat box on the Zoom call so that you're ready to drop your answers, and I will explain the game briefly. The game is simple. We will put up an egregiously scammy phishing attempt, and our goal as a group is to identify each of the red flags on this email per the slide that I showed before, or if you identify other ones too. First, we're going to just take 9 seconds. This is going to be our opportunity to practice what it feels like to actually wait 9 seconds. And then I will invite you all to start typing in the phishing red flags that you see into the chat. Before I jump, does anybody have any questions about how the game is played? Okay.
Talia, I do.
Yes.
My question is everyone ready to play the game?
Is everybody ready?
And like, who's gonna win the game?
We all win. We all win. We'll have 2 emails up for us to review together. One to give us a chance to learn from our first try, but really don't be shy. We're all learning here, and I promise if you think it's a red flag, it definitely is. All right. Are we feeling ready? I hope so. Are we ready to go? Okay, here's the first email. I'll give us 9 seconds, then cue to start dropping red flags in the chat. Ready, go. 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. All right, feel free to drop. Is there anything about this flag this email that seems suspicious? Are they employing any of the social engineering tactics that we saw before? Does anyone see any typos or grammatical errors? Don't be shy. Does anything feel off about this email? Amira, do you want to help us run off? Oh, I can't see the message or see messages from all the attendees.
Yeah, I would love to kick us off and see what I can see in here. I mean, We just talked about so much urgency that the first thing I see is that there is a really big sense of urgency by telling me to accept today. And the today is like in the title, and in the body is really bold. And it's making me feel like I have to act this minute. So that's my first big flag for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Scammers love to make you feel like everything has to happen in this moment or else. Also, in the subject line of the email, transaction is spelled incorrectly. How often does a bank have a typo in what they're saying to you?
Yeah. Also, thank you for those that are messaging us. We totally are catching now that the chat is disabled by accident. That is our fault. So sorry about that. But the Q&A is open. So if you've got ideas, definitely put them in there because I've got my eyes on there and I'm watching, and so is Talia now.
Yes, thank you for clarifying that. Glad y'all are here.
All right. What other red flags are people finding?
Oh, chat's open. Fabulous.
I think that everyone's gotten a lot of extra time to identify the flags. So now they've really got to be pros. Truly.
Yes, love that. Why is Anthony Hopkins sending me money? I completely agree. Also, they misspelled the famous actor's name. Hilarious. Way too many links. Agreed. Um, and if you see it's a link shortener there, so you're like, okay, well, where is this link actually bringing us? The URL has an extra R in Clever Financials. Yep. Also, I've never heard of this organization. The logo is in a weird spot. I agree. Um, Sincerely, Clever Financials Transaction Services. The urgency of today. Yes, exactly, exactly. Um, the AI generated Clever Financials owl that we've never seen before in real life. Definitely a flag. And then anything else in terms of maybe like the spelling, grammar. I don't want to give it away too much, but also will expire. Yes, exactly. Since when does money expire if we don't click it soon enough? The expect today. I don't like them telling me to sign into account link. I can find it on my own. Exactly, Helen. Okay, wonderful. Um, and then why are they sending us money in pounds? When's the last time you received a transaction in another currency from someone you didn't know? And I would also say that Dear Clever Financials looks like it was copy pasted in. Like they don't know that they didn't type it actually in the same thing, that it feels like a copy paste butcher job here. Wow, wonderful job, everybody. The big reveal on the next slide is all of the red flags of this email. Awesome. And then we're gonna play another round this time since the chat is open. Hopefully, we'll get through these super quickly. Go team, these responses are only going to us and not the participants. So this is great, and I will call them out. Reset. Ready? We're gonna take 9 seconds and then we're gonna flood the chat. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. 3, 6, 9. Awesome. Okay, great. Yes, starting with fear. Fear that you're going to lose your pictures, that you're going to lose access to something that you value. Any other inconsistencies that we see here? Act now. Weird fonts. Agreed. Yes, again, with the sense of urgency, this idea that somehow Lifetime Family Photos has access to everything that you want. If my password's been compromised, it doesn't make sense that it would delete my photos. Love that. Helen is putting herself in this reflective mode. What does this really make sense? Is it feasible that I have to download something? Why would I have to download something? Losing is spelled wrong. Exactly. Support in the sender address. Yes, exactly. Spelled incorrectly. Good catch. Now, there are some other tricky ones slipped into here. Let's see if anyone can find them. Maybe some inconsistencies between who they're addressing, maybe the URL being a little strange. Does anyone see anything in particular? Yes, awesome. Not only is there an email to Anne Swiss, but all of a sudden they're referring to us as Anne G. It seems like if it was a legitimate business, they would know who I actually was. Yes, and then finally, lifetimefamilyphoto.co. Where is the M? And also, why is this if it was a legitimate source, why would they not know to connect the correct URL? So I think we've covered the mass majority of them. Thank you all so much for your participation. I really appreciate it. Wish I could see all of you and hear how you felt about the game. Feel free to drop in the chat. And I am going to pass it on to the wonderful Madeline. Thank you for participating. Final round, online iteration of Catch the Fish. Really wonderful to hear that the tools that we're equipping you with are able to be practiced immediately. And Madeline's going to dive into what's next for GDI. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amira. Thank you so much, Talia. That was really a lot of fun. So first of all, we are going to send you as a follow-up this information. So if you didn't have your iPhone handy and you weren't able to screen grab, do not worry. We will be sending you information. So what's next? Let's move to the next slide. So there's a few things that GDI is going to be doing in partnership with Amira and Talia, Take9, and Aspen Digital. One is if you would like us to do a bespoke version of this webinar for your teams or your companies, please let us know. We're happy to do that. Number two, because GDI is really focused on narrative culture change, our goal is to really inform and engage storytellers, writers, producers, showrunners, screenwriters, to be able to think about how they reflect any type of cyber-related scam or fraud. Or so, for example, if there's a character that is sitting at a computer, or there's a parent, with a child on their iPhone, like those are opportunities. So we are looking to identify opportunities to work directly with creatives. GDI has an intervention tool called Spell Check for Bias, which actually looks at bias in scripts. And we are using our framework to add another filter. So for the scripts that are submitted to us, we will also be putting on, that as a layer. And in order to provide the right tools, we're working in partnership with our partners here to develop toolkits that are specifically focused on storytelling, whether it's storytelling for kids versus adults. And so that is something that we are all working on, and will be, kind of very, very specific. And we're here to help. I'm sure, I have seen a number of friends and family fall prey to some of these attacks. So it is, very, near and dear, unfortunately, to our hearts. So what we want to do is jump into a little Q&A, and we're going to put up a QR code also so that you can, get a hold of us. And I am going to head it back over to Talia to lead us into Q&A. I see we have some good questions.
Thanks so much, Madeline. And thank you everybody again for participating. That was super fun. What's so wonderful is that Amira wears many, many hats, and they are a true cybersecurity professional. So really excited to dive in with them. The first question that I'm seeing is, can you actually explain or show what an authenticator app is and how it works? What happens if you lose your phone?
These are really good questions. So I really appreciate someone asking this. What I want to say is that authenticator apps are somewhat all different, but they normally use the same range of experiences. So I use an authenticator app called Okta, but you could use a whole bunch of other ones, including Google has its own authenticator app, or other ones that are on the marketplace that are available. You can do a quick search for ones that are secure or are used often by organizations that you know and trust. So when you go into your authenticator app, what you do is you want to add a program or a website that you want to add multi-factor authentication to. What it does is it asks you to list the name of what it is that you want to add, and then go to the site and go to the settings for the platform you're on and scan the QR code where it says add multi-factor authentication. So when I'm on this app, so let's say example for Okta, I'm adding in let's say Facebook. I'm adding in Facebook. I go onto Facebook. I go into my settings. I say enable multi-factor authentication. It'll show me a QR code. I take my phone. I scan the QR code, and then it adds it right away to my multi-factor authentication. So that every time I log into Facebook now, it'll not just ask me for my password, but then it'll say, "What is your authentication?" And so when it asks me that, I go back into my phone. I go back into Okta, and I look at the place where I said Facebook, so the little icon name that I'd given there, and it's going to give me a unique code that is usually about 6 digits. Now, what's really important to know is this code changes every 30 seconds ish. And so that is the way it is kept safe. That is the way that it means that you have to have this phone and it can only be you. So that is all for your protection and security, but it does happen really quickly. So I recommend doing two things is one, having your platform ready, your device ready whenever you're going in to sign in and making sure it's not anywhere further out. Or as well, you can often push notifications. So if I'm on a platform like Facebook, I can say, oh, yeah, I'm going to sign in through my multi-factor authentication app, which is Okta, but push me a notification so I can approve it in the app. And then I can go in the app and I can say, yep, this is truly me. It's no one else. And so let me in. And then you should be able to get in like you would at any other platform at any other time. The losing your phone one is a predicament that I know many people are worried about, but much like you would lose access to anything else on your device is the same for your authentication app. So when you are in your authentication app, make sure you just either back it up or you create a secure login that is connected to a cloud-based server or otherwise, which means you have a unique URL or password and account so that if you are on a new device or if you lose your device, you can go in and block that from anyone from gaining access to those spaces, but also then enable it somewhere else really quickly so that, again, only you can do it on your new device. I did not write that down in the Q&A because it was a long answer. I get that there's a lot of info there. So if you are really curious on doing it, I recommend just jumping in and trying it out or searching some videos online to do so as well.
Awesome. And we have a quick follow-up on that one. What happens if the password gets compromised? The password manager itself gets compromised. Like, what if someone else gets access? Does that create a single point of failure? It sounds like you kind of answered that at the end of your last question, but is there something that makes it more secure than other types of accounts?
Yeah, it's a good question because it has happened before. So a password manager has been hacked in the past. I won't tell you which one. They've done a lot of work on their security since then. I actually think, some of it's been good. But I will say that when that happens, then you immediately go in and change your password to that password manager. And then you immediately go in and then often change the passwords that you have on your accounts elsewhere as well. So because this is a very scary scenario for many people, there are instructions on a password manager for what should happen in this instance and what you can do in that time. But immediately taking control, immediately changing your passwords, and immediately monitoring your accounts for any suspicious activity are all really helpful. Which kind of leads me actually to the question that we have in the chat that Brenna asked earlier that I had answered. And I wanted to answer that one specifically in the chat because I wanted to add a URL that you all now have access to. But if you have been hacked or have had something happen to you in any sort of situation, there are tons of tools and resources available online. My recommendation is to immediately change your passwords. Without a doubt, do that right away. Set up MFA if you haven't already, because that just means that even if someone has all your info, only you can get in. And if something gets hacked and you have MFA, that means they actually can't get in anyways. So that's really good to happen. And then monitor your credit reports. And in some cases, if it's really vulnerable and your financial details have been disclosed, you're going to want to set up a credit report on Equifax or actually freeze your credit altogether, which you can do at various times of the year for your own safety if you need to. And then the resource I wanted to share there is one of our Take 9 partners, the Better Business Bureau, created this really, really important toolkit called the Scam Survival Toolkit. And you can click on it and click through the links and support that is offered there. That is both for individuals and businesses if you get hacked and attacked, to tell you the next steps and what you should be thinking through.
Awesome. Thank you, Amira. The next one is about, are there particular scams that target teens and kids? And if I may start off and then how about you fill in the gaps here, is that truly anyone that is online can and will be targeted by scams and frauds. But of course, social engineering for young people can and looks different depending on who you are. A lot of social media scams. We're seeing a rise of social media scams. We're seeing scams like gaming related scams, a lot of like free contest related scams. But what we can do today and tomorrow about this is there's an incredible resource by one of our other partners, Common Sense Media, which does K through 12 age sensitive, age appropriate curriculum on digital literacy for kids online that covers everything from like privacy to how to stay safe to how to identify a scam. And it's these short videos. They can fill out the curriculum. I'll drop it in the chat. And it's a really great resource to bring forth to the young people that you have in your community. Anything to add, Amira?
I mean, we love shouting out our partners. Geena
Yes.
Davis Institute is one of them. We love the people here as well. You are all part of our community at this point. And yeah, Common Sense Media has a lot of great resources specifically for youth and teens and also for parents and educators as well. I will say there are a couple of things that are really known for when teens and kids are online. One, I did mention early on that they are actually the most likely to click through scams. And that's because they actually spent the most amount of time online. So they're pretty much on par with the same amount of rates we all are, but because of their high usage, they just click on more scams and they're more likely to fall for them and not think about it in ways that are tangible and impactful for the future of their lives because they're just sometimes in a different zone or in a different space, not really realizing it. So that happens really often, and it's really important to be aware. Also, we have teens and kids who are online a lot, sharing a lot of personal information online. And that personal information is often used by attackers to target them in certain ways, target them with scams that are really custom to the things they care about, like those really great latest sneakers that they've really, really been wanting, that they think is now at a really good cost that they can afford. I hope they can always afford all the great sneakers. I truly do. But in some cases, it is truly too good to be true. And those lessons are really hard learned over time in life. So many of us know. And so these kids and teens are really targeted by these spaces. Another thing that I actually talk about is a type of cyber attack called ransomware. Is quite common, which happens. Which happens really commonly right now in the U.S. towards public schools that are involving youth data. So public schools keep a lot of really sensitive personal information that is social insurance numbers, it's their date of birth, their address, that sort of details. And these ransomware attacks where these public schools are being hacked and all of that data is being held hostage, essentially, is being used and manipulated and then stolen and sold in ways that are totally unconsensual by these students and by these parents. And then it's what happens is we have attackers and scammers using it either in manipulation or to steal their identity. So there are lots of ways they are specifically targeted. They are another vulnerable group in this scenario. Attackers and scammers are really smart. They really prey upon the points of what data can they use and get. And I just want to really clearly outline this. The reason why they're so popular and that scammers are going after this community is because most of them don't already have a line of credit and are not applying for it until they reach a much larger age. So by the time they get to an age and realize that someone has already stolen their identity, it's often too late and it's already too hard for them to get out of.
Oh, thank you for
I
sharing
know,
that.
it's awful.
It's awful, but we
So,
can
yeah.
all do tangible things to protect our communities. And the first step was being here. So thank you all for being here. And the last question is a little bit meta, which is always fun to end on a thinker. What are our thoughts on AI? Can it either accelerate risk and or mitigate it?
Okay, y'all, there's something here to know, which is that I am an optimist at heart. And so I truly believe that we as a community, the cyber community and industry, can use AI to mitigate these risks that are being held right now by scams and frauds and cyber attacks. And I truly believe there's a lot of really good people working on them. And so I do think there are going to be a lot of ways we're going to see AI used, whether it's like chatbots being integrated in our browsers that are like, hey, wait, don't do that thing. Don't click this link. It actually does not seem right. Or here's a flag we find conspicuous. There are lots of organizations and spaces that are already integrating this. If you use a Google product, they are actually embedding some of this into the core builds of their services, like their Android devices. And so we know that there's a lot of good people working on this. But right now, as we wait for a lot of that to really spin out and be in those places, we're actually seeing a lot more of the risks. And so I mentioned earlier generative AI, you're able to mimic someone's likeness. That's really scary. And we're seeing that happen often. We're seeing people use AI to gather personal details about a person and send them a really personalized risk, scam and attack that they're more likely to fall for based on the personal details they share online. We're seeing people use AI to create really customed emails that just make anyone fall in general, or really talk about a topic like they might know about it where they might not. And so right now we're seeing a lot of the risks and we're seeing a lot of the harms that are both financial, emotional, timely, energetically. But I do believe we're going to be mitigating these more and more as these platforms really start to care. Well, they do care, but they really start to actively work on solutions here.
Wow, awesome. Yes, thank you for sharing that. If no one has any other questions, I'll give you a few more moments before we close this out and give you all a few minutes back.
And I'll just jump in. Of course, I want to thank Darcy French-Myerson, our illustrious ASL interpreter. I want to thank Amira Dhalla, who's Director of Cyber Civil Defense at Aspen Digital, and Talia Stringfellow, Senior Associate for Take 9 at Aspen Digital. We will be following up with lots of information, the information that you saw today, and then clearly reach out to us if you'd like us to do this type of programming, for you. And there'll be a lot more coming out from GDI in partnership with Take 9 and Aspen Digital. So I just wanted to say thank you, stay safe, be aware, and really appreciate your time and commitment today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.